恭请大德圣听，为此法会及一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死、离苦得乐、殊证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye olahuri samyao samputoshe.
Namo sadanto suchedoye arahati samyao samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Welcome everybody. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Glad you're all here. Let's see. Iwan, scoot over. Nobody's going to grab that one. That loses a seat. Tina, scoot 2 over. I don't think anybody else is going to come in with a robe. We have an empty seat there and an empty seat to your right. And we have people who are... now that I've said that, Tina, here we go. Okay, great. We need every seat on that side full of a body. Otherwise, folks have to keep going further and further back where there's no seats. All right. My name is Heng. Welcome, everyone. Today is Saturday, August 30th, here in Berkeley, California. We're about to launch into our weekly lecture on the Flower Garland Sutra. And I've got some special... I'm going to scoot over to reseat myself here. I have some special comments about what this book is, where we are. I think there are folks who are kind of plugging in at the start. Folks who are new to this series and may not know what it's all about. Let's continue with our protocols to get ready. And the next thing that we do in a traditional sutra lecture is invoke spiritual presence, which is to say we invite the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly, and also the gods and the dragons and the Eightfold Pantheon of spiritual Dharma protectors to draw near. And if we are sincere and that works, then they are here to bless each and every one of us. In Chinese, it's called jiachi. So when Master Xuanhua was doing it, when our teacher was doing it, you really felt the presence. It was different after you made the request. So we can be sincere and just let them do their job while we do our job. Here we go. Nam mô Đa Phật Hoàng Phù Quan Liên Trì Hoa Yên Hải Ô Cụ Sa Nam mô Đa Phật Nothing like a 12-string guitar to give some dignity to your request, right? We would like to acknowledge the Chocechno Ohlone people who practice their spiritual connections to the earth and to all creation here on their ancestral land for tens of thousands of years. Today, we acknowledge them as traditional custodians and original storytellers of these lands. We offer our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. I wanted to say a word. I was listening to a podcast that was questioning acknowledgement of land, they call it, in this country. In Australia, it's called acknowledgement of country. They were saying, we can't go back and redo the past. Who knows any native people anymore, anyway? And I think that misses the point here. Acknowledgement of country is a statement of wisdom. It's also healing in that after we white folks came to Australia, where this custom arose, take one example. We lost touch with our connection to the land and to all the wisdom of the people who lived in the land, their indigenous wisdom, how to deal with fires, for example, how to deal with wildfire. Just an example, how to extract water when there was none, how to find it, how to live in harmony with the other living creatures on the planet, who are indeed our neighbors, not whom we have dominion over and can use their bodies any way we please. So all that original wisdom, which allowed humanity to live on the planet without destroying it, was ignored. And then, as the people were wiped out heartlessly, cruelly, it was forgotten. So this is an attempt by we who, if we look at our own behavior, can still say there's time to change, there's time to grow, there's time to learn how to do it better, because we have not succeeded in living in harmony with anything, including ourselves on the planet. So that's kind of the civil, that's the public, that's the secular reason for making a statement before we come together, to keep that in front, to not forget it. When it comes to Buddhism, people may say, well, why are you doing this before a Buddhist lecture? And the answer is, look at the statement. here in the Bay Area, it was a very few hundred years ago when the Ohlone people, and the Chocechno is the language group of which many smaller groups are comprised. When they lived here, life was good. They just reached down twice a day when the tide went out and picked up lunch in the shellfish, and so created Shell Mound, which is now, we call Albany on this side, and Emeryville. That just went out my left ear. Emeryville, Shellmound Road. That's why you buy your Apple computer now, right? That's one of our local Apple stores. So life was good. They were not warlike because they had what they needed to sustain their lives comfortably until the Spaniards came, followed by the other Europeans. So those were folks who practiced a spiritual connection to the earth and to all creation, where they had been for tens and tens and tens of thousands of years. They told the stories. They kept humanity's role between heaven and earth, Tian Di Ren, in harmony. That much we know. So just to say, here were people who had a clue about how to live righteously, gracefully, wholesomely with each other and with the other species here. When the Europeans came, when we came, we basically brought our machines and cut off. The earth was here to extract things from so we could build a machine and do it better. We're famous for our contraptions, our industry, right, which consumes the planet, and that's not a successful strategy for survival because the planet is finite. There's only this much. There's no planet number 2. So Buddhism comes along and says, actually, there is a system in place on the planet where humanity has a job, has a role that mirrors the same indigenous wisdom, but takes it deeper into the place that addresses the Buddha's fundamental question, which was, is death inevitable? The Buddha's project was to answer that question. Is there an alternative to mortality? Basic question. That's the biggest disease, right? It's birth and death. So the Buddha set to work to solve that, and it took him 6 years and lots of hard practice, but he was successful, and then he passed it on. And not only Buddhist monks, but Roman Catholic monks and nuns, and Vedanta monks and nuns. Those are pretty much the 3 traditions that have celibate monastic communities, have, we're talking about monks, mind you, monks and nuns, have found a way to live in places, wherever there are monastic communities, nature thrives. And bit by bit, the land around the monasteries becomes wholesome, productive, peaceful, nurturing, and flourishing. The reason we haven't got to the Sutra yet, mind you. I just want to talk about this because I think there's a lot of criticism now. Oh, this land acknowledgement is just some woke hippie nonsense. You know, it's way more than that when it connects with the Dharma. So the Buddhists are very interested in the wisdom that transcends the world and then nurtures the world and humanity in its place, connecting with the people who lived on the land and found a way over tens of thousands of years to fulfill what in China was a Taoist project, Tian Di Ren, the beings in the sky, the devas, all of the tribes on the earth, and the humans in between. That wisdom thrived in China. So here we are representing an Eastern tradition and interpreting it for ourselves now in the 21st century here in the West. So this puts us back on the land, back into our bodies, outside of our machines, into our stories, the stories of the human tribe and the people who did things well in their bodies. So that's what it's about. That's why. So, all right? Does that make sense? I hope so. Here we go. 我们恭敬地承认，就这群龙尼人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的，你们注意未来哈，还没有出发就是你们了。未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民也致敬。Okay, there we go. Bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000界内佛法样万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报贪恼后的。Okay, there we go. All right, now on to the sutra. For folks who are unfamiliar, this is the Flower Garland Sutra, known as the Avatamsaka. The Chinese call it the Huayanjing. The Japanese call it the Keigonkyo. It's equally revered by Tibetan Buddhist tradition as well. The Tibetans acknowledge the Avatamsaka as the first sutra the Buddha spoke under the Bodhi tree after his awakening. And it's large, it's really big. If you had to say what's the essence of the Avatamsaka Sutra, it's the Bodhisattva path. It's describing the life, the habits, and the thoughts of unselfish humans, people who live not only for themselves, but also to benefit others. We have been working through the sutra for years now. By the way, this is our 30th year here in this room, in this building. The Berkeley Buddhist Monastery got started in 1995, and this is our 30th year. We have been explaining the Avatamsaka since we first arrived, and various chapters. If you took a lifetime and did it at our pace, we go slowly, mind you, but if you went at our pace exclusively, you would probably take decades to finish. Master Hua, our teacher, lectured every single night for 90 minutes, and it took him 9 years to go from start to finish. But he did finish and made his commentary to it. We have picked out certain chapters, and currently, on Saturday night, this lecture series is explaining one called Ru Fa Jie Pin in Chinese, the chapter on merging with the Dharma realm. Dharma realm is another name. To say it's the universe isn't accurate because that takes us out to astronomy. We think telescopes, galaxies and stuff, and it's not a spatial universe. The Dharma realm is, likewise, it has a spatial dimension, but it's that place inside where wisdom lives, where principle is the law of the land. The Dharma realm is a place where worlds exist, but also beings exist. And here's the difference. You get there not by moving your body, but by moving your mind. The door to the Dharma realm that our hero, Sudana, enters is in the mind. So, if that makes sense. The difference is to find the Dharma realm, you don't go out with a map in hand or GPS. You turn the vehicle around and drive into the mind through a series of practices, through vows. The bodhisattva is the person who does that and does so with the purpose of opening the road for others, because that place is a place where meaning abides. Life has meaning. It's not purposeless. You don't wake up in the morning and scratch your head and say, whatever, right? The purpose of the Bodhisattva path is to put an end to misery, to suffering, to pain, delusion, confusion, cruelty, greed, anger, and delusion. Not only is it a good idea to do that, but this is a how-to. This book is an instruction manual for those good deeds. Okay, now there's much more to it. That's just a summary of what it's about. We have reached, in our study of the Flower Garland Sutra, we've reached the chapter 39, merging with, we say entering the Dharma realm, Ru Fa Jie Pin. This word Ru can mean to become one with, to integrate, to lose the boundaries between yourself and everything. There's a hero who comes forward at the beginning, and in a number of years goes from being a young man to being a Buddha. It's an epic. Literature, some of the brightest, longest-lived books in the world are epic stories. The Odyssey is an epic. There's a hero, Ulysses, Odysseus. He goes out on a search. He travels and travels. He faces danger. He gets wounded. He returns wounded, sort of a hero, and suffers. Anybody who has read in, maybe it was high school literature was where you met the Odyssey. Another, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner is an epic poem. The Gilgamesh epic is from the Sumerian culture. One of the earliest books available to humans is a similar story about a hero who goes out on a quest and succeeds but pays a price. Our hero, Sudana, is on the quest. He's out there. He is a pilgrim. He is a traveler. He's a student. He's endlessly curious about any information that he can gain in order to make the Bodhi resolve, the Bodhicitta, how to wake up. And after awakening, take others across, or while awakening, take others across as well. And to take across, du zhong shang in Chinese, is an analogy. Here's the idea. We are here in birth and death. Samsara is that one. That's where life is a crapshoot. Kind of some days you win, some days you lose. In the end, we disappear from life and nobody knows where we've gone. What a deal that is. That's samsara. And samsara means continuing on. One of the foundations of this text is the idea that we come back, right? This is not our only life. And the Budweiser beer commercial, you only go around once in this world, grab for all the gusto you can get. Have a bud, right? Selling beer. But that's a flawed philosophical view, because physics tells us that nothing goes out of existence. It only transforms from matter to energy, back to matter to energy. Energy is disembodied, matter is embodied. No, they've gone again back, right? Matter is neither created nor destroyed, it transforms. The Buddha's view of samsara is just that way, and we come back into another body and get the benefits of the good things we did and pay the price for the things that were not so wholesome. So that's samsara. Now, over there, that's this shore, they say. Think of a river. This is samsara. Over there is nirvana. Nirvana is a place where that coming into being and passing away and coming into being, birth, old age, sickness, death, rebirth, comes to an end. And there are 4 attributes of nirvana, they say. 常乐我净. It's a permanent state. It's a blissful state. True self is there, not limited by my skin and defined by my personality, but a self that includes all things, the Dharma body. And 常乐我净, it's a state of purity as well, where things make sense. Nirvana has been incorrectly translated as extinction. Mistake, not extinct. Dinosaurs go extinct. Australia is in the process of making koalas extinct. Can you imagine a world without koalas? Right? In Queensland, where I live, there are tens of thousands of koalas left. That's it. What's killing them is cars, destruction of habitat, and dogs, largely. Koalas are very slow-moving once they're out of their trees. And when you chop a tree that has koalas in it, they have to come down to the ground and find another tree. The dogs get them. They cross roads. The cars get them. And they're also vulnerable to a disease called chlamydia, which is, it is that one, that chlamydia. So anyway, species are going extinct every day. They don't come back. Buddhas come back. And that sounds counterintuitive. I thought Buddhas kind of retired, like to, Miami Beach or, the Keys or something. Palm Desert. We're going to be singing a song later on about Guanyin Bodhisattva, Avalokiteshvara. The Avatamsaka, the Mahayana's view of Guanyin Bodhisattva, says that she was a Buddha before. And even though she had accomplished that state of reaching nirvana, she didn't want to stay there because living beings were still suffering. So the Buddha, his name was Zheng Faming, the light of proper Dharma, she made a bodhisattva's body and came back. We've got some seats in front. Don't sit in the back. You won't be able to see. Take a look. There's empty cushions. Grab them while they're hot. So now, my image isn't complete. All right? We've got samsara on this side, birth and death. We've got nirvana on that side, where the continuity ends. And then in between is what? In between is, they say, the flow of fanna, of afflictions. And afflictions are the blues. Afflictions are things that don't work out. It's a car with black smoke coming out the tailpipe. That's afflictions. There are the list of 28 major, there are 5 major afflictions and 28 minor afflictions. So the Buddha was nothing if not a student of what it's like to be a human, right? So he left these lists behind. So greed, anger, delusion, pride, doubt, gamban, fanna, right? Basic afflictions. So, all right, that's the image. So here we are, continuing in confusion. There's this river of affliction that we have to cross over. And over there is the other shore of nirvana. And the Avatamsaka Sutra is the raft to go across. It's the bridge to cross over. And the thing about the Avatamsaka Sutra is once you're on the other side, you come right back to bring others across. The raft, you could also call it a van, right? It's like a Volkswagen minibus with seats for 9. It's a great vehicle for crossing others over. All right, that's the sutra. We are now in the encounter. The other thing about the sutra is it's a series of relationships between teacher and student. And it digs right in. Sudana meets his new teacher and just goes, whoa, that's a lot. How can I learn all of that? The teacher encourages him, breaks it down for him, feeds it to him in bites that he can digest, and then says, now, everything that I taught you, there's more. Don't take it from me. Down the road to the south, there's another teacher who's even better at explaining. Go ask him how to cultivate the bodhisattva path, how to fulfill the bodhi resolve. So Sudana says, do I have to go? I just got here. And the teacher says, now, be a good student. Go south, ask him. Sudana often sheds a tear, walks around him in respect multiple times, bows to the ground, stands up, and goes south. 53 times. So what an epic, right? People who didn't read Chinese or Sanskrit had no idea that Mahayana Buddhism has an epic story. Right here. This is it. We're in it. Okay, tonight, the teacher, 解脱长者, 出定了. Elder liberation comes out of his samadhi and starts to talk for the very first time. Here's what he says. I'll give you a line, you give it back. Ready? 比诸如来所有言说善财童子悉能听受意见诸佛悉诸菩萨不可思议三昧神变 Good. Okay, here we go. Let's read it together. Follow the punctuation. There's none except to the end. Here we go. We will do it by a breath. When there's no punctuation, pause and inhale at the right spot. Ready? Here we go. The youth Sudana heard and accepted everything that the thus come one said. Pause, inhale. And he watched the inconceivable samadhis and spiritual transformations of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Okay. Now, where was he listening and seeing this? In the body of his teacher. What happened in the last couple lectures, elder liberation entered a samadhi, his body became transparent, and it became like a kiosk. Last week we talked about Expo 67 in Montreal. Venez à l'Expo. Bienvenue à l'Expo 70, right? 67. So, in his body, Buddhas, lifespans, and vows, and practices, and surnames, and living places, and samadhis, and practices, and psychic powers all appeared, one by one, just like on a screen. And Sudana is like, like somebody in a dream, watching these incredible stories play out. And at this point, the show's over, the lights go out, and Sudana is digesting, heard and accepted everything that he saw in the kiosk of his teacher's body. Yep, just like that. And all of the changes that created Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Okay? Here we get our teachers, the teacher who just showed him all that, says his first words. We ready? Right here, 20. Here we go. 20. 解脱长者从三昧起告山塞童子言善男子我亦入出如来无碍庄严解脱门 Go. All right. At that, ready? I'll give you a key. Here we go. At that time, the elder liberation rose from samadhi, take a breath, and said to the youth Sudana, good man, I have entered and come out of the thus come one's gate of liberation, take a breath, named unobstructed adornments. Okay, now notice the word samadhi came up twice here. Inconceivable samadhis. Samadhis are meditations. They're contemplations. It's a state that leads to wisdom. This is step number 2 in the fundamental teaching of the Buddha. If somebody asked you, this is an exercise we do a lot. If somebody said, what did the Buddha teach? There's a number of answers you can bring forth to that. My academic advisor, Dr. Nakasone, would say, Pratitya Samutpada. He taught Pratitya Samut, the 12 links of conditioned arising. Dr. Nakasone is also a student of the Avatamsaka, and that particular teaching appears in its glory in number 6 of the 10 stages chapter, Instructions for the Bodhisattva. 十地品第六地. So that's where you get this really full explanation of the 12 links of conditioned arising. Dr. Nakasone says that's the Buddha's original teaching. That's his contribution. Nobody ever said that before because nobody saw it before. To see how everything from this flower leaf to the sound of my voice to everything our senses are perceiving, the solid wood floor under your bottoms, the temperature of the air, everything arises made of conditions and passes away. And in that process, it goes through 12 distinct steps. And then the Buddha laid them out one by one by one. Only through samadhi could the Buddha witness that and say, this is our creation story. Not that a supreme being took 7 days to create the world and the heavens and the waters and man and women, etc. That's another story, a creation story. The Buddha says, it arose out of Wu Ming Yuan Xing, Xing Yuan Shi, Shi Yuan Ming Si, Ming Si Yuan Liu Ru. Ignorance created activity. Activity, Wu Ming Yuan Xing. Ignorance created activity. Xing Yuan Shi. Activity created consciousness. Consciousness created the 6 entrances. The 6 entrances created contact, etc., all 12. And then said, furthermore, there is a way to reverse it, which is Wu Ming Mie, Xing Mie, Xing Mie, Shi Mie. When ignorance is done away with, then activities stop. When activities are done away with, consciousness stops. That's crossing over affliction to nirvana. So what do? You have to put an end to ignorance, the first link. That's what the Buddha says meditation, precepts, samadhi, and wisdom is for. Okay, that's one of the various things that people can say, tell me about Buddhism. What did the Buddha teach? Dr. Nakasone says it's that one, right? Probably the one where you're absolutely on safe ground, and you can use this at work tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday, Labor Day. You won't, is Monday the holiday? have to wait till Tuesday to go back to the office and amaze your colleagues. Say, what the Buddha taught was precepts, samadhi, and wisdom. Jie, Ding, Hui, Shila, Samadhi, Prajna. In Pali, if you ask Theravada Bhikkhu, he will say, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Same. They teach absolutely the same. What is it? It's how we are as human beings, how we live righteously, then taking that clarity of mind and sitting with it, calming it, sitting still, and then watching wisdom arise in that place, right? So this is step number 2, the samadhi part. So when I was a young seeker of the Buddha's wisdom, 19 years old, traveled to Kyoto and found a Zen temple called Antaiji. And Uchiyama Roshi was one of the few Zen teachers in Japan who would allow Westerners in the door. We were just too much trouble otherwise. So Uchiyama Roshi saw me and said, "Oh, Nihongo ga dekimasu ka?" And I'm like, "No." He said, "Welcome." He said, "Do you speak Japanese?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Welcome." So welcome me in. He was one of the few teachers who grounded the Soto tradition of Zen back in the precepts, because historically speaking, the Meiji Emperor in the 19th century was jealous of the strength of Buddhism. Too many monks, too much wealth, too many images, too much land owned by monasteries, and he shut Buddhism down. And the way he did it was he got rid of the first step, precepts. Said, you cannot transmit precepts anymore. Monks who are holding precepts should go back to their wives. If they're not married, get married, right? So he set about destroying Buddhism from that first step. So Zen, when it came to America, had to do with step 2 and 3. Let's go meditate before we sort ourselves out. What happened? Robert Aitken, the teacher at the Diamond Sangha in Hawaii, in his book called Mind of Clover, wrote about it really skillfully. He said, he said, we were that first generation who wanted to learn to meditate. He says, we were going to really take it on. So we practiced Zazen. And then after Zazen, we went directly to the barbecue, the hot tub, and the back rub. The result was we would be meditating, and then a couple would come down from the dormitory upstairs and have a couple's fight right in the middle of the zendo, right in the hall. "I saw you go into her room last night. How dare you?" And we were trying to meditate, because we were just people. We were hippies. We had no idea that there was a first step that nobody talked about in Japan. As a result, Aitken says, we realized that no matter how sincere we were about our sitting, our community was going to be destroyed by unclarity about how to sustain life as a meditator. The Buddha taught character, concentration, and insight, who we are as people, and his guidelines were not ambiguous or fuzzy. Said, be kind, don't harm. Ahimsa, don't kill. Cherish life instead. Don't steal. Cherish material possessions as instead. Don't break your vows if you're married. Don't run around if you're not, right? If you are in a relationship, be responsible. Don't harm people with selfish sexual desire, he said. Instead, keep your vows if you're married. If not, don't be promiscuous. Don't play around. You will not succeed in your meditation if you do, because you'll be sitting there and somebody's going to whack you over the head and say, I saw you last night, right? So exactly. I mean, what's unclear about that? It's really clear. That kind of behavior, perfectly fine, just don't confuse it with the life of a meditator. Because a meditator wants to take the six senses and quiet them down to where you can actually catch your thoughts rising. And if you're full of jealousy and emotion and lust and desire, you won't see your mind. Another set of energies is going to rise in the body. It doesn't work for meditators that way. The Buddha spoke from experience, right? All right, number 4 was, instead of lying, tell the truth. Because, as Master Hua said, when you tell a lie, what happens? You stir up 100 waves on the waters of the mind. Right? Tell a falsehood, you have to check to see who heard it so you can cover in case that person didn't hear it. And maybe they heard it, you have to cover, you're checking out, back out, and back out. How do you ever sit still? Right? And then number 5 was very unpopular with young people in the 60s and 70s, which was no intoxicants. Mine was a generation that liked to experiment with what are now called substances, right? We were heavy smokers and drinkers, and that was a way to explore. I mean, every culture has its intoxicants. The Buddha said, nothing wrong with intoxicants unless you are wanting to meditate to success. If you're trying to meditate when you have alcohol in your bloodstream, wisdom is hard to approach, because that very same feeling that makes you happy at a party is the thing that prevents you from seeing the source of your mind, right? So those 5 precepts, that first step, is not judgmental. It's not killing, stealing, lust, lying, and intoxicants make you a bad person and the Buddha doesn't like you. It's, these are behaviors that will obstruct you from success when you meditate, right? The Buddha said, you can cross over affliction, but here's my method. If you want to follow me, here's what I recommend. Avoid these, he said. So just that basic description of what a wholesome person is, you can find it in the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not, right? Kill, steal, covet thy neighbor's spouse, and bear false witness. You'll find it in the Holy Quran. You'll find it in Patanjali's yoga aphorism. Same description from wise people worldwide to say, here's what makes a good person. Now you're ready to go meditate. Now you're ready to approach samadhi. Because if you're sitting there and you've maybe didn't kill somebody, but you said, drop dead, you dirty, rotten SOB, right? That is going dong, 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 dong. You're hot. Try to sit still. It's really hard. If you steal, if someone steals from you, oh my God, it's so hard to sit still, right? Lust, lying, intoxicants. The Buddha said, watch those 5 and you will succeed. You can follow me because that's what I learned the hard way. How do you suppose he lived as a prince? He was not a precept holder in the palace. When he went out into the forest to cultivate, he tried everything, and some methods did not win. He rejected them. Others took him too far into asceticism, starving himself. Lust didn't end, it just went quiet. As soon as he fed himself, those thoughts are back. So that's, if you want to say, what did the Buddha teach? He taught Shila, Samadhi, Prajna. Precepts or guidelines for being a good person, character. Then any method that allows you to quiet the mind, quiet the 6 senses, and watch your mind work. And then the wisdom that emerges when that process calms and transforms. All right? Now, these are special samadhis that Elder Liberation was using. It had a name. Remember that name? It was called this particular samadhi was connected to a mantra. It was called the Bodhisattva's Samadhi Gate, named boundlessly revolving Dharani of everywhere gathering in Buddha Kshetras. Our poor translator in Australia has to do that from memory, right? Here we go. Cliff, here it is. 普摄一切佛刹无边宣陀罗尼. Okay, there we go. Got to be mindful of our translator who's working so hard. We have 2 translators going right now, one in Vietnamese, one in Chinese. Boundlessly revolving Dharani. It's a Dharani, a mantra. It's sounds that turn like a wheel. Turbines. Or, right? Your computer's hard drive, unless you have a solid state. And this particular mantra that turns in sounds gathers in Buddha lands everywhere. Buddha land, where Buddhas teach. Think Amitabha with the land of utmost happiness. All those Buddha lands everywhere. So, Chinese, right? Pu, everywhere. She, gathering in. Yi Che Fo Cha, the Buddha lands. Wu Bian Xuan, boundlessly revolving. Toloni, Dharani. So, that's the samadhi he entered. It's a special program on his mind's hard drive, so to speak, that allows him to attain a pure body, and then in that body, all these Buddhas show up and go through all of the things that Buddhas do. And for the last 3 weeks, since we started this, I've been asking everybody, how do you visualize the Buddha? Who's the Buddha to you? And I've gotten some really interesting answers from all over the place. In a minute, Terry is in Australia gathering in some questions. We're going to look at some of those questions in just a minute. So many of the questions come from, we've had some from Beijing, some from Xi'an, some from Jerry over here. Bunch of questions about Buddhas and what's it like. What to them, how they first saw the Buddha. What's fascinating about this section of the text is it describes Buddhas in ways that I didn't have a clue. Okay? So he sees Buddhas in their countries with the people around them and the non-people, the spirits and the devas. In their monasteries, the lights they release, the adornments that decorate them, the spiritual powers and transformations, their vows, their practices, dharmas that aid the way, be it eating a harmless diet, be it Taiji Chuan or yoga, the practices that led to freedom. He saw them getting enlightened, reaching nirvana. He saw them teaching. He saw them in his teacher's body without impediment. Then it went on in detail to tell us what their bodies look like, how many times they appeared, their countries, their assemblies, their living in the Tushita Palace. We had the 8 hallmarks of a Buddha. Every Buddha goes through these different stages. Living in the palace, being born into the womb, Lady Maya, leaving home, living in the palace as a prince, leaving the householder's life, going out into the woods and cultivating, becoming, going to the Bodhi tree, and then dealing with the demons, dealing with Mara. Surrounded by gods and dragons who also want to learn from the Buddha, being asked by kings and others to please speak, to teach, turning the Dharma wheel, teaching, entering parinirvana, their lives are over, going into cremation, having their sharira, the relics come out, and then putting those relics in stupas and temples, of which there is one right there. That's a stupa at Gold Coast Dharma Realm in Australia. The Buddha's Sharira are inside, as well as Master Hua's Sharira. All right? So, Sudana is watching his teacher show all this amazing stuff happen. More details. Thus come ones, the Buddhas appeared in the middle of assemblies, all their different lifespans, their families, their clans, their desires, their delights, their deeds, their actions, the languages they speak, all of the bodies they got, their different natures. Some were really friendly, some were more scholarly, others are very austere, some were really funny guys, right? Some were brothers and sisters, the afflictions they went through, and I thought this is fascinating, the sleeping that they did when they were meditating, right? Right? The habit of slumber, how hard it is to stay awake when you meditate long. The sutra's telling us about the lives of the Buddhas that were visible in his teacher's body, while Sudana is standing there just gaping at all this knowledge. Some lived in tiny monasteries. Maybe it was an upstairs room in the third floor of an attic of an old house, meditating. Others lived in vast monasteries. Master Chunwan at Zhenru Si in Jiangxi province is creating the Guoji Chanxiu Zhongxin, the International Center for the Study of Chan. He is really hoping that we will organize delegations to go over to Jiangxi, to Cloud Dwelling Monastery, to join his retreats, because he's preparing a Chan hall for 1,000 sitters together. We've seen it, it's real. And the kitchens that will support 1,000 meditators, right? So remember that I've said Guoji Chanxiu Zhongxin in Jiangxi province, Zhenru Monastery, True Suchness Monastery. So, vast Bodhimandas. Some lived in Bodhimandas that were leagues long and big. They used spiritual powers, languages, sounds, Dharma methods, dharani, eloquence, the noble truths by the ocean deep teachings, fearlessnesses, the lion's roar, good roots, recollections, intentions. They bestowed predictions. They explain a lot of Buddha Dharma. That takes us to tonight, right? That's where, so show is now over in Elder Liberation's display of Buddhas. Sudana heard that, accepted it, watched the samadhis, and Elder Liberation said, that's it. I've entered that samadhi, I'm out of it. It's called unobstructed adornments, and that's how I got free, by learning about Buddhas. Okay? Now, what follows next? He's going to teach Sudana following a compass. Starts with east, and it goes to southeast, goes to south, goes to southwest, goes to west, goes to northwest, goes to north, goes above and below. He names every Buddha, their disciples, the land they're in, and the leader of their assembly. That's what we're going to do next. And as I looked at this, I was thinking, how to bring this alive. And I think we're going to do this. We'll do the first one together. It's the east. Step back. The purpose, this is just a list of Buddha's names, and there are those basic details, where they lived, who surrounded them, who their number one disciple was. He is still teaching Sudana. This is the first thing he's actually said. Otherwise, it was show, not tell. Now he's telling. The show is over. He's now telling Sudana how the things he wants him to know so he can learn and master this teaching. It seems repetitive, kind of dry. A list of 10 Buddhas. It's not. There's profound instruction happening. Certainly, face to face, you'd get the sound of his voice, his body language, his expression. We're limited to words on the paper, but there's something wonderful about the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is by reciting it, there are other levels happening here, and it's hard to describe. It's a little bit mystical, but by reciting the text of the Avatamsaka Sutra, they say it's planting seeds in our consciousness for our future discovery of our own wisdom and compassion. What they say. So, with that in mind, those of you who don't read the characters, we can certainly read the Romanized ABCs, okay? Let's start with the first one. I'll give you a line, you give it back. Ready? 善男子我入出此解脱门时气见东方眼复贪金光明世界龙子在王如来应正当觉道场中会执所围绕毗卢遮那藏 I'm sorry, let's do this 毗卢遮那藏菩萨二位上首 All right. Now, maybe for the first time, I don't know if any other time in human history a group has read this part of the Avatamsaka in English. This may be the very first. All right? So, punctuation is our friend. That tells us where to breathe, where to stop, where to start. Ready? Good man. Good man. When I enter into and come out of this gate of liberation, I see a world to the east named Jambunada Golden Light, comma, take a breath, with regal dragon self-mastery thus come one worthy of offerings, of impartial right awakening, surrounded by the assembly in his Bodhimanda, where Vairochana treasury Bodhisattva serves as the leader. Okay. He says to Sudana, good man, he says, could be a good woman, but Sudana's a guy. When I enter into come out of this gate of liberation, this is how he woke up, I see a world to the east named Jambunada. We're in the continent called Jambudvipa. That's our eastern continent. Jambunada Golden Light. Jambu is a river, and the Jambunada has golden sand that they say is incredibly pure and wonderful. Jambunada Golden Light, with a Buddha there whose name is Regal Dragon, a royal dragon, Self-Mastery Tathagata, who, here's the title, he's worthy of offerings, Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. That's right here. That's what this says in English. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one, impartial right awakening. He is surrounded by an assembly in his Bodhimanda. There's all kinds of beings there. Where Vairochana treasury Bodhisattva is his number one student. Okay? That's the template for the rest of these. There are 9 more to come. So that's very cool. I mean it when I think probably nobody has ever recited that in English together, ever before. It hasn't been in English for reciting before. Thomas Cleary translated a version, but not the same. We didn't acknowledge who is here. Let's see, I see James as our co-host. Wonderful, welcome James. Terry is in the Gold Coast of Queensland. Let's see here, friends in Vancouver and Hong Kong. Guoji is in Italy. Anybody know why Guoji is in Italy tonight? My goodness. How about that? He was in Norway 2 weeks ago. What? Cynthia's here in Saratoga. Mr. Ni from Heilongjiang. Duc Leban from Montreal, La Belle Province de Quebec. Okay. Emmy is here in Perth, Australia. Hong Chan is in from Burlingame. Welcome, Hong Chan Shi. Let's see. Taipei, Guangzhou, Italia. Yeah, Guoji is learning Italian. Virginia, Beijing, Tiantai Shan, Huanying, Harbin, Liaoning, Shandong, Anhui, Shanghai, 等等，很多地方. And we got a bunch of questions. Let's see here. What I wanted to do before we get to the questions was practice. Next week, I'm going to be down at Redwood Vihara in the Santa Cruz Redwoods for a week of retreat. It's going to take me through Saturday, so I will not be here next Saturday. We're going to have a virtual lecture next Saturday online. But one of the things I'm going to do is introduce this song a cappella. And your part, it's a sing-along. Your part is, recite my name truly, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Recite my name truly, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Okay, so this is from the Universal Door chapter of the Lotus Sutra. It always goes, Nian Bi Guan Yin Li, Ruha, 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 right? Recite my name truly, says Guan Yin. And then things go better. So it means you say, Namo Guan Yin Bodhisattva, Namo Guan Shin Pusa, Namo Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Okay? So this tells the story of Guan Yin's rescues in song form. Ready? Okay. Tell me your trouble, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. The water will drown me, said all living beings. Recite my name truly, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. I raise the pitch. The waters will dry up and you will not drown. Okay? The rest are all the same. Oh, tell me your trouble, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. The fires will burn me, said all living beings. Your part, recite my name truly, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. A little bit high, you gotta pick your voice up. The fires will go out and you will not burn. Ready? Oh, tell me your trouble, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Bandits surround me, said all living beings. Recite my name truly, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Their weapons will shatter, you'll meet with no harm. Oh, tell me your trouble, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. The animals will eat me, said all living beings. Recite my name truly, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. The animals will run away and you will survive. Oh, tell me your trouble, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. The police will arrest me, said all living beings. Recite my name truly, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Ice will release you and you will go free. Oh, tell me your troubles, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Demons pursue me, said all living beings. Recite my name truly, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Their eyes will not see you, and you will get away. Switch the page. Oh, tell me your troubles, said Guan Yin Bodhisattva. I have no troubles and worries today. Invoke my name truly for those sunk in suffering. Cultivate virtue and give it away. Last verse. What does it mean to recite my name truly? It means to recite with no wish to succeed. No fear of failure, no self and no others, with a heart of compassion for all living beings. Now that melody actually comes from Le Livre Vermeil, which is a oratorio for the Holy Blessed Virgin from Catalonia. It was originally in Spanish. All right, I think that's going to work. I thank you all. We should probably all make a choir next semester, right? Extra credit on your resume. Let's see here. Hold on. Start. Okay, here we go. All right. Yay, Terry. Thank you, my friend. Okay, Reverend Heng Sure mentioned Venerable Master would test a disciple. Oops. This is not the one. Let's see. Is there a new one? Let's see. Jerry, can you get me a link to that? Where are the questions? This is the old one. We need the new one. Okay, let's see here. Cliff, there we go. Terry, have you got the... Yeah, here they are right here. Okay, maybe there's only one. Okay. So, Amitabha Reverend, this comes from Vancouver. It's inconceivable that the 8 signs of achieving the way and all the wonderful visions appeared in the Elder Liberation's body. Yeah, it sure is. Would it be reading too much that this is speaking to that all of the Buddha's merits and good roots are within? We have to look within. Okay, I suspect this is Alex's question. Is that too much? The looking within is the direction regardless. Let's see here. 真是不可思议，成佛的八相和一切殊胜的境界，竟然都在解脱长者的身上显现。对了，这是不是在提醒我们，佛的一切功德和善根，其实都在我们自心之中，不必向外追求、追灵，而应当向内在关照，去发现呢？对。So, yes, indeed, absolutely true that the place we look comes from there. When we become Buddhas, it's from the mind. There's no other Buddhahood to realize than calming the mind and body with precepts, reaching samadhi through a practice of stilling and calming, and then watching the wisdom transform. So, if it weren't the case, when we mess up, when we make a big mistake, and whoa, I did it again, some habit came over me, I don't know why I did it, but I did it, I knew better and I went ahead and did it. Where does that happen? Same place. So, that is to say, it was a thought that we went with. Some voice in our mind said, yeah, that's probably a good idea, right? And then the next morning, when you're sober again, it's like, that was not a good idea. How could I have done that again? How could I fall for it, right? You know that old habit energy. So where do we go to find a better choice next time when that same habit arises? Same place. But if we've been practicing living in a way that is harmless to self and others, the next time that habit rises, we get just a little bit of time to go, oh, I remember what happened last time. Maybe I won't fall for it again. Thank you, pass. Right? Where does that come from? That little bit of stillness that gives you a chance to reflect. Same place. Right? What is meditation about? It's to calm us down so that we can catch that energy rising. No magic. It's just steady practice. So Master Hua would say, practice fights with desire. Habits, he said, habits and desire fight with practice. The wisdom you gain tells the difference. The wisdom that comes from watching the mind turn and turn and turn, that tells whether you're going to go with the habit and screw up again, or this time learn. And there's no judgment anywhere in there. It's really fair play. The mind is a function, and wisdom is light and insight. Where does it come from? The stillness of samadhi. Where does that come from? What we do when we're not meditating, with our bodies, mouths, and minds. Right? So, thanks for the question, Terry. Okay, Venerable Master, where's the nearest Dharma center led by a Venerable Master located near Beijing? 定力法师阿弥陀佛，我是北京的张先生，我想向一个北京最近的商人的道场在哪里？恐怕在澳大利亚。不是，在香港，香港有慈心寺啊，最靠近北京的就是香港。The closest one is in Hong Kong. Other than that, Taipei, right? 花莲、高雄、六龟. If you can get to Taiwan, it's hard now from China. That kind of road has been shut for a while, but we would hope that that could open again. There was just several years ago, it was easy to go from Shanghai, Beijing, Wuhan, Hangzhou, right down to Kaohsiung. Maybe that will open, and we hope in the future. That's the closest, is in Taiwan. Other than that, Australia. So come down to the Gold Coast. You can fly from Beijing to Brisbane or Sydney and make your way up. But in China at the moment, we've had offers to establish monasteries in China, but the red tape, the legalities are really challenging, you know. The Chinese government wouldn't necessarily welcome an overseas organization starting a branch. We would hope that that could change in the future. That would be wonderful. Same reasons in Vietnam. Oh my goodness, can you imagine if we said, we're going to Vietnam next year, there would be 2 747s full of disciples traveling with us, right? Every Vietnamese disciple in America would say, I want to go with Master Xuan Hua's delegation, right? It would be hugely, hugely popular because our teacher, Master Xuan Hua, is respected in Vietnam. And the government would say, too many people, I'm sorry, go home, right? It's still not that size delegation, not welcome. So you could say the time is not right for Vietnam. Maybe later, we hope. All right? From Shandong Jinan, only when one's parents are free from worldly defilements can the path of filiality be truly fulfilled. What does this mean? How should it be understood? I want to encourage my parents to believe in and recite the Buddha's name, but I'm facing strong resistance. What should I do? Force them, beat them up, threaten them, punish them, right? Let's see. 亲德离足够知道方成就什么意思 ？OK， 该怎么讲理解 OK 像用父母信佛念佛阻力很大，应该如何做呢 OK 我开玩笑 So no, you don't want to punish them. What you want to do is show your parents that because you recite the Buddha's name, you change your behavior to accord with the Buddha's suggestions and guidelines, you meditate, and as a result of that, you're a kinder-hearted, wiser person, they will get the message. Children are on parents' radar. Parents are on children's radar. You move a thought, mom knows. You can't fool them. And if you force them or, tell them you should, as soon as you say 应该, right, they immediately have a mental reason why they shouldn't. Why would they listen to their kid? The kid should listen to the parents, right? So the answer is show, not tell. 现身说法, right? 要自己身体力行就对了. You have to show the benefits, and bit by bit, if they scold you and you don't respond with anger, if you spend more time with them, if you say, I've been listening to Master Xuanhua's lectures, he was a filial son, and I think it's really good to spend more time with my parents. I learn a lot from you. They'll go, is this our kid? It's like, wow, something's going good with him. Then bit by bit, you may have an opening. If they say, how come you've changed for the better? You say, well, I've been meditating, So that's an opportunity. So often the fewer words you use, but the change in your attitude is the very best Dharma teaching. Avoid Buddhist language. You don't have to say, in the Heart Sutra it says, that won't necessarily work, They'll find a reason to. So, especially if I'm assuming that his parents are probably of the generation of Red Guards, perhaps if they're in their 50s and 60s, and that generation was told that religion is corrupt and is an opiate. They learned more Marxism than they learned religion. So understand their mentality, where they're coming from, and talk to it. Show them the benefits of cultivation. Bowing, this is from Xi'an. Bowing in respect to the Venerable Master. May I ask for your guidance? What's the most important thing in life? When one transitions from a busy work state to a period of inner peace, after some time, others, out of good intentions, try to pull you back into work. It feels as if you're being drawn out of a safe refuge. How should one make such a choice? Okay, 丁力法师，请法师开示人生最重要的事情是什么? That's one question. There's a second question that has nothing to do with that first question. 当从工作状态进入清静了一段时间之后，又有人会拉你去工作，别人本身是善意，就像是把你从一个安全的洞里拉出来，如何选择? Okay, what is the most important thing in life? And if you lined up 50 people and asked the question, you get 50 different answers. So I won't tell you about the most important thing for you. There was a period when I will tell you one of the happiest things in life. It happened sitting right where I am sitting at this moment. We used to have something called Great Strength Academy. Great Strength Academy was our Sunday school on Saturday for kids of the parents who were listening to the Dharma and had brought their kids to do a Saturday school so that they could come hear the Dharma knowing that their kids were in the same building, not at home running amok or watching, Netflix or something. And their grandparents, the elders, were sitting in the balcony with headphones. So we had 3 generations. How many people remember that time who were here? Guohua certainly does, okay. Guohua, others, right? Okay. So after the lecture, the last half hour from 9 o'clock till 9:30 was story time. And the young people would all come in and sit right there, and they would go, I'm empty, fill me up, pour the story right in here. And their eyes are like that, you know. And I would go to the Berkeley Public Library, the second floor, to the children's literature section, and get stories of heroes, young heroes. The very best would be if they were girls or if they were Asian. And if they were Asian girls, it was a real hit. And I would get those storybooks and memorize the story and get ready. And then tell the story about the dragon up in the cave on the mountain who required one child from the village per year. And if the villagers didn't send one kid up the mountain to be eaten, the dragon would incinerate the entire village. Until one year, they picked Xiao Mei, right? Xiao Mei went up and she slew the dragon. And she slew it with kindness. She made friends with the dragon and brought the dragon down. The dragon was just lonely, and they fed him something, tofu or something like that. And so he, was tamed. And they said, oh, we have a wise young woman in our community. So, and the kids would go. And there would be this flash in the eyes when they got it. And that was the happiest thing. I would wait all week for the opportunity to look at those faces and have them go, flash. They would go. And I was told by the grandmas, or they say, she came back home, our kids came back home, and the brother who was too cool to come to the monastery would say, what happened? And the younger child, the younger Didi or Meme, would tell them the story with every single dot and comma in place, not missing a single bit, right? They had soaked it up like sponges. And very important for the storytellers among you who know what I'm talking about, don't rip the story off. Now, children, the moral of the story is, be good. No. Every kid gets it exactly. Those stories are powerful, and we take from them the nutrition that we need, right? So tell the story clean. Let them deal with it. And, 10-year-olds are really amazing in their ability to know right from wrong, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, what they can get away with, what they better not even try, And all of those air vitamins that come through the act of storytelling. So that was, okay, so your question, what's the most important thing in life? That was the happiest thing for me, because I saw learning happen from the heart. Now, your question about somebody pulling you back into work after retirement, Wes, does that happen? It's like after...
All the time.
All the time? Okay, that's China. All right, so Wesley knows China. So, okay, if you retired too early, do you like to work? When you say the state of Qingjing, can you negotiate and maybe go 1 day a week? If, what's the situation in your company that they need your wisdom? Could you go in and exchange something? You'll go in if they'll all meditate with you for half an hour, right? You're talking about you enjoy your state of tranquility. Well, share it. Study with the bodhisattvas and take something back. They don't know what they're getting when they pull you back in. They've got a tiger by the tail. They're pulling back a bodhisattva, somebody who's been meditating. So use it, right? Go in and be a subversive agent for samadhi and give them more than they bargained for, all right? Or do something really subversive. Go in and accept no salary. Volunteer. You can really turn things around then. Mess them all up. Okay, there we go. All right, time is come. As I said, I will not be here next week. I'll be online next week because of our retreat down in Redwood Vihara. But the week to follow, I will be seeing you from this place, right here. We'll be back. Dedication of merit, make a wish, send it out to the world as far as your mind can reach. With this lovely Leo Kottke, if James is listening, this is a Leo Kottke Taylor 12-string. James, who was co-host earlier, is my inspiration for returning to music. I came in one night and he had his battered old Gibson guitar. He was singing Crosby, Stills and Nash song with 80 meditators here from the East Bay mindfulness community. And I thought, wow, that is a positive, expedient means for getting people to put their hearts together. So from that time on, I picked up my guitar again, after 25 years of never touching strings. So thank you, James. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to may kindness find reward. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. Let's do two more. May all become compassionate and wise. One more. May all become quit. I'd like to invite you all to bow from right from where you're sitting to Banyam Bodhisattva. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, gratitude to our translators and our tech friends who put this out online. See you all next week, everyone. Amitofo. Drive carefully going home.